The most costliest series to race in is go-karting.
Formula E event in Hyderabad. Tell me more about it.
Formula E, in simple terms, like electric version of F1. India was one of the countries to host Formula E, and it happened in a street circuit. Covering any sport or any kind of event, emotion is, or for a photographer, emotion is a base thing. We are all humans after all. Dakar is a sport where it's an off-road sport where you race close to 14 days out there in the desert. Each day you're doing close to 100 kilometers each stage, and it is very, very dangerous. Like just 50% of the people in Dakar who start finish.
Tell me about some upcoming race events in India, which people can go and watch. Thanks so much, bro, for taking out time.
No worries, no worries.
So you work as a motorsport photographer.
Yeah.
And when we were talking here, you mentioned that motorsport came in your life before photography.
Yes.
So tell me, how did that happen?
So from my childhood, I was lucky enough that I was staying not very far from a go-kart track, and I was always interested in it. So at least in the weekends, whenever we got time, my parents used to take me there and all those things. But then I'm an army brat, so I would say my dad was working in army, so we shifted out.
Okay.
So probably right at the age when I was supposed to start racing officially and all those things, I couldn't do it because we shifted out to Manipur, which was very far from anything. I was in a city earlier, so we shifted out to a different place completely where it was not connected to racing or go-karting or anything. So I couldn't do it a lot. So whenever I used to come for vacation is when I used to like kind of hone the skills, try go-karting around whenever possible. Motorsports is definitely the one of the most costliest sports, I would say, in India. Not very hard to get in, but very hard to do it professionally or do it full time, I would say.
Is that the reason, like, it's sort of sport which not a lot of people pursue?
Yeah,
or
it
get
is
involved into?
A lot of people are interested and would want to get into it, but then the more you learn about the sport in India or the future in it in India, then people just back out, I would say. But if you are loaded with money, then obviously you can continue doing it because it takes a lot of time and effort to build it professionally. So, like, I'll give you an example. So, in India, we race bikes, we race cars, we race go-karts, we race almost every other thing in India, not up to a level of Formula 4 in India. Okay. And leaving the Formula 4 series, the highest or the most costliest series to race in is go-karting.
Why is that?
In a go-kart event, which let's say it's a 3-day event, you would close to spend 1 lakh at least
For 3 days.
for 3 days. That's
And where exactly does it go? Like, if you were to
it
break
goes
down.
into the team, it goes into, you need tires, fuel, your travel and stay expenses, all put together, you would be spending close to 1 lakh. And if you're doing a full season, that is like about 5 to 6 races or something with practice sessions and everything, it costs about close to 20 lakhs, which you'll be spending, and which is one of the costliest in India. So it's cheaper to race bikes, it's cheaper to race cars, like a full blown out, let's say Polo Cup or something like that. It's cheaper to race that than race karts. So that's how motorsports, and karts is where you have to begin, and you need to go through that. I wouldn't say it is necessary to go through karts, but I would say it improves your racecraft a lot if you're going through karts and going into bigger.
So is that something which builds your core, instinct and skill?
Yeah, exactly. And if you start young, is when you get the most instincts in racing. So you need to start at the age of close to, let's say, by 8 years old, you should be in a kart driving it professionally, and at least by 15 you should be done with karts. You should be moving on to bigger stuff, bigger cars and all those things. You should be practicing a lot if you want to grow in the sport. Like abroad, that's what happens from any of the world championship or anything you follow, let it be bikes or cars or from anything like that. All of them start racing at a very, very young age, like very, very young. So in India, generally, it lacks quite a bit in India because parents may be a lot scared to put their kids into cars and all those things. That is why a lot of people start at very older age, I
sort
would
of late.
say, when you're teenagers or when you're when you have adult, probably a lot of adults as will start in India racing, because you have your own money, you can then spend it, you don't have to take your permissions, maybe that is
Hmm.
why. So anyway, so that is how it goes. Like, you need to start, motorsports is a sport where you need to start at a very young age, and I'm sure like almost every other sport,
Yeah.
you for sure have a bigger advantage if you start very young.
But specifically in motorsports, because when we see like the top elite racers, racing in Formula One, it's a really hardened skill,
Correct.
that the ability to figure out like where do you need to exactly brake
Correct.
and all those things. So that need to come instinctively. So I
Exactly.
think that's
And
the
you're
reason.
racing, let's say, for 40 laps,
Yeah.
and your each lap is almost just few seconds, like barely few seconds off each other. So
Hmm.
there is no point where you make a lot of mistakes or make a lot of, you have to repeat the same thing again and again when it comes to track circuits. When it's off road, it's a completely different skill, because
Yeah.
each turn you take, you don't know what's there in front of it, what's
Yeah.
going to appear. There might be a rock, there might be something, there'll be somebody crossing if there is bad luck. But yeah, so you don't know what's going to come every single turn or every single blind spot you take. So off road is again very dangerous
Hmm.
comparatively. So motorsports is actually a very dangerous sport.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really get this since they're not truly involved in
Correct.
motorsports, because our idea of racing is, the games that we have played in childhood, that,
Yeah.
oh, it's so easy. But when you actually do it, like I got a glimpse of that when I used to play this Formula One
Okay.
on PC. So it's
Okay.
pretty hard to play.
Yeah.
I mean, the corners and
That's like
all,
a
that,
semi simulator, I would
yeah,
say.
semi
Yeah.
similar. So then you get an idea like, oh man, this is so, maintaining that focus for laps and laps and laps,
Yeah.
not missing the breaking points.
Exactly.
It's truly hard.
At least when you're gaming, you're doing it in a AC, or you're sitting in your this thing, you
Yeah.
got fan, you got like this thing, but in your car, it is going to be much, much hotter. Sitting with completely fireproof gear from top to bottom, heavy as helmet, there's barely any air circulation.
Hmm.
So doing that at those speeds is very risky, and it's very, very dangerous.
And I've heard like the race cars are pretty, rugged and not like your traditional cars where you get the luxury and you can drive
Yeah,
easily. Like the brake pedals are
yeah,
hard, things like that.
there is nothing in race cars. Technically, it is just steering. You got your accelerator, brake, clutch, and gears. You could just consider that. That's all. Mainly, it is there. Then you got a lot of other features that you can control, and like how technology evolves. It's
Hmm.
been evolving to make the machines go faster. But if you simplify down, that's all you have, and you need to control everything with that. And there's no air conditioning. There's no other form of comfort. Even your seats are not comfortable in a race car.
Is it primarily like from the perspective of getting higher performance or to make the game competitive?
It is to make the car lighter. So a lighter car is a faster car. So you need to reduce all the unnecessary stuff in a car.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you reduce it down to the minimum. Like, what is the most necessary, it is there. That's all. So in a race car, you would find only things that are just necessary. Those things,
Okay.
all the small things, even a screw in some point would play a very crucial role probably to the way the car is built. They will try to
Hmm.
minimize even that, like where you put the screws. They wouldn't put screws like some 10 screws just because you have it. They would try to minimize everything and anything to reduce the weight of the car. So it is very controlled, very calculated, and it is, so when it comes to building a race car itself, it's a very scientifically very different than building a normal car. So a lot of things are there involved in it, I would say. But yeah,
Yeah.
to simplify it, it has just the basic
Maybe
necessary
let's talk
things.
about like what are the different kinds of leagues or we call categories of racing
Okay.
for cars.
So when it comes to car, your base starts from go-karting.
Okay.
So you have in India, you have got something called Rotax series, which is where you generally start. They are two-stroke cars basically. But if you're starting out and if you are a youngster or a person coming in, new person coming into the sport, there's another series called Meritus Cup right now, which is again, what do you say? same thing as Rotax, but then it's a more compact series, just like 3 rounds. So it gives you an idea of what racing is like or what competition is like. So that's like a getting into series.
Okay.
The entry, there are a lot of, so how to start or get into motorsports is like you can go to your nearby tracks and all those things and take a chance, set up the laps. You can practice over there
Yeah.
in the 4-stroke carts. uh, but there's no specific or a standard race that happens every year. There are a lot of companies, different companies and different organizations that bring in racing in local entries. Then you have your national championship, which is your base start for your career, which is the national Rotax championship for karting.
All
But
right.
the lowest form of car racing in India would be the 1300, which is
1300.
1300 LGB 1300 it's called, which is the most lowest form in India. It is where you generally start. It's where your training begins.
Okay.
So to get into car racing, you have to get a racing license basically, and you need to go to an academy, learn racing, which is like a 2-day program, 2-day or 3-day depending on the academies, 2-day program where they teach you racing in the 1300s.
So do the academies give you that, or you have to
Academies give you that.
Okay.
So first you need to go to the academy, learn to race over there, get used to the car, the 1300s. And with them itself, those same academies would run a team or something in the coming series or something. So that is where you can start off with the national championship cup. And then we can move on. After you finish that, you can move on to a different series called Formula 1600 or Formula 2000s, which is run by
Okay.
currently MRF is the one which runs a national championship.
These are like on the same line of like kart racing only.
No, these
Or-
are bigger cars.
Okay, bigger cars.
Yeah, they are proper like how Formula One car looks, much downgraded versions like F4 and below. So in India, the highest is the F4.
Okay.
There's a series that runs called Indian F4, which is the highest form of car racing probably in the single seater. So these are called single seater racing. The other one is called your normal looking cars. You got sedans and all these things, right? Polos and all these. Those are different categories. So this is single seater racing. In single seater racing, there's a lot of fixed rules, and that's where maximum competition happens. And other ones, you need to build your specific car. So you can take your own car if you want, build it up for a race spec thing, and take it to the track and race. So there are different, but again, when you're building the car, there are different regulations that you need to follow to build it to enter different categories.
You mentioned like Polo.
Yeah.
Like why exactly like that car is specifically? I mean, is there a championship dedicated to that? or-
Volkswagen used to run a very famous series called Polo Cup,
Okay.
but it is no more happening in India. They have stopped the series. But it is, I think, another organization has taken it up right now and they're running it from their side. So in that series, you didn't have to own the car or anything. You could just, they will have a selection process
Okay.
which you need to go through. And if you're selected to race, about like some 15 people get selected. And then Volkswagen used to give them the cars to race. So even right now for the organization, it's the same thing. You can give your name if you're interested to race, and you can go ahead, finish the selection program, and then race. So that was a different kind of category.
Okay. Okay. So do like rally races also happen in India?
Yeah, a lot of rally races do happen in India. India, like, but then rally races a little bit more complex. There are a lot of various rallies that happen in India. You need to go take part, but for that you probably need to have your own car or you need to spec a car. There are a couple of race teams that give out cars if you pay them the amount. For that, you can start off with doing small rallies, which is more like timed rallies, like autocrosses. They're called basically. That
Okay.
happens in a very small area or a fixed circuit kind of thing. You can start off doing autocrosses for that if you want to train for that and all those things, and you can get a hang of the rally thing and then get into rallies for it. So there's no set procedure of what you can race particularly,
Okay.
and there is a lot of races that you can take part in to start off with.
So you're saying essentially it's like based on who is hosting the race. that
Exactly.
you have different leagues and championships coming up.
Exactly.
It's not like a fixed set of,
No, your national championships are fixed,
Okay.
but then they are only couple races. So if you just do national championships, it wouldn't be enough. So you need for you to get a hang of it, you can't directly get into national championship because the competition would be high. Because all the top athletes in motorsports in India would be racing in the national championship. So you need to do smaller events to get a hang of it and then grow your way into national championship and all the
Interesting. So the national championships that are also held by the private sponsors, or the government has some sort of involvement.
So FMSA is the, I would say, governing body in motorsports in India, which is for both cars and bikes. So they give out or hold auction on who can hold the national championship. So
Okay.
currently, for let's say single seater cars and for all the track racing for race cars, MRF has got the this thing. They have won the auction and they are running the national championship. So it's called MRF National Championship right now. So they are the ones who are running the national championship right now, and like they have categories like the 1300. They have categories like mm, F2000, F2000, F1600 are single seater make cars. They are again run by somebody called JA Motorsports. The cars are built by them, so they are running it on the track. So it's not something you can, they don't have a split team. It's like a one make series again. So when I say one make series, it is all the cars are the same. There's no change in different cars. You just need to go and drive those cars. In other teams, there are things that you can change in your cars if you're running as a team or something like that. But in single seater, generally you just have one setting and all the cars run on the same setting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's also maybe talk about tracks. We were talking about it a
Yeah,
while back.
so in India, we basically have three tracks. One is the most famous BIC, Budh International Circuit. Then comes MIC, which is Madras International Circuit. And then we have one more it's called Curry. So it is in Coimbatore.
Okay.
Okay, so we have three tracks basically in India where you start racing. Curry is probably where most of you would go to race, and Curry and MIC where you would start racing in. BIC is a grade one, so like it's the highest form of racing where MotoGP and F1 and all happen. Like, but all our cars are smaller, so we mainly run in we mainly run in MIC and Curry.
Are these tracks, I mean, are all these three kind of similar in a way? Or, because you mentioned it's grade one, both
Yeah,
international
so there are
circuit.
different grades that is given to a track. So highest, depending on the safety rating that is. So all tracks cannot hold or conduct races above a certain level if
Okay.
they have lower. Like say Curry cannot conduct a Formula One race in Curry because it's much smaller, compact, and safety concerns. They are not allowed to conduct races over there. So they can conduct races only up to F4 level right now. So each track needs to build up, or they should be built in a certain way to get accreditation for higher races. So in India, we have the only track that can race Formula One is BIC, but right now it is kind of changed and they can only run MotoGP right now, which is FIM certificate. So they currently have a FIM certificate.
Interesting. So these tracks, like, who works on, building and all of that? Are they like private, the racing?
They are
I'm not.
generally private. It is generally somebody builds a track. You and I can build a track if we have money, and then we get it accredited by the governing agency to which level. So they would tell you what level you can get it, like depending on the safety and other thing, you'll get to know what level of track that you're building, and depending on that, you can run whatever events you want in the track.
What event specifically both international circuit holds? Because that's a grade one, right?
Yeah,
So
sorry.
MotoGP is one of the events you mentioned.
MotoGP is one of the highest events which can run right now in Budh International, but Budh International does not run a lot of national championship. It runs a lot of like autocross right now, a lot of
What is
training.
autocross?
Autocross is again like a fixed circuit, but
Okay.
it is a timed attack. It's like a time attack challenge kind of thing. So you start off, you know the track already. There is a fixed layout for the track, and you just race. It can be both off road, on road, tarmac, or off road. It can be both. So that's a different kind of racing
Okay.
as well. Autocross is a different.
I was going through your portfolio and I was looking through your work. One of the events I think you covered was that Formula E event in Hyderabad.
Correct. Yeah.
Tell me more
So
about it. Like, how was it?
Formula E is, in simple terms, like electric version of F1. Formula E is the highest single-seater electric car that races. So India was one of the countries to host Formula E, and it happened in a street circuit. So street circuits are circuit which are temporarily built on a public street
Okay.
to conduct races. It is generally to, so a lot more crowd is aware of racing, because generally racetracks are kind of outskirts, are situated generally outskirts. So a lot of crowd does not know or don't know that there's a racetrack or race happening there. So to bring in a lot more people in and attention in, they do a lot of street racing, and they convert a normal road that you find as a track.
And Hyderabad has like decent roads.
It does have
Which,
decent roads, and
yeah.
they do build a proper tarred road around
specifically for the event?
specifically for the event.
Okay.
We generally have complete boundaries set up, safety barriers set up, and everything. So Hyderabad was one of the first cities to host actually Calcutta was way back in the day, if I'm not wrong, like very very old, one of the first street circuits. But after that, in current generation, like Hyderabad is the first street circuit to have, or the first street circuit in India, I would say, right now. And they were able to host Formula E. And we were supposed to run it the second year as well, but then due to some complication, it didn't happen. But
Okay.
yeah, that is one. I've covered MotoGP. I would consider that the highest. But then Formula E in India is probably the highest form of motorsports that I've covered. Yeah.
So, like, I was looking at the photographs. It was like, it looked like pretty sort of professional. The whole stadium and all.
Correct. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the streets.
So depending on like uh, which race happens, like let's say if MotoGP is coming to India, or Formula One is coming to India, or Formula E is coming to India, they bring in a lot of let's say regulations and safety concerns and a lot of things with them. So if you have to run a Formula E event, you need to have so much space, so many safety this things under this thing, the tarmac, everything. Even if it's MotoGP, it is the same thing. So you need to have a certain standard to run the show. It is not like, okay, it's random track, you can just run a random race. No, with each, or higher the race goes, the higher the standards of the event goes. So Formula E was a completely what do you call, very well run, it's with complete international code of conduct and all those things, and it was really amazing.
That is also governed by FIA.
Yes.
You mentioned MotoGP. That was
Correct.
in Qatar, I believe.
Yes, the MotoGP I covered was in Qatar. I went to Qatar for 2 years, I think, in 2020 and 2022, and I might go for a few more races soon.
So tell me, like, what happens truly, like, because I and a lot of people will not have a context. Like, how do you actually go on covering a race event from the broadcasting and media side of it?
So okay, so it's again similar to how a racing driver begins his journey. So, like how one starts from karting and a racing, we also need to start from the roots. Like, we need to do smaller events, we need to cover smaller events, get to know the environment you're in, get to know what kind of activities are happening, how it happens, the back end of it, get to know people, you need to build your connections, and then slowly you'll grow up. You can't just directly get up one day, say I'm going to shoot Formula One, and go to the track, and you won't be able to unless you're shooting it from the audience perspective or something. You can go to the stands and shoot, obviously, but getting a media access, you can't just do it within, like, okay, today I want to do it, and it wouldn't happen. You need to apply, especially when you're like doing like a FIA grade event or MotoGP or Formula One or something. You need to apply months in advance for a media press access, actually, and you get it only through a certain. There are a lot of regulations for it as well, that you need to show your background, you need to show what you've covered, then you're selected. They can reject your application as well, and a lot of it is like you need to go through a media agency to support you. So when I say media agency, it can be any kind of publications or
All
something like
right.
that that you represent to get access to these events.
So basically, you're shooting for that agency,
Exactly.
right?
So you could have a deal with that agency that, okay, fine, I will do this for
Mm-hmm.
you and you pay me this much X amount and I'll work for you, etc. There are multiple ways you can either do that. You can work for media or publication agencies, or you can work for the teams or even the organizer involved. If you're directly working for organizer, then organization will take care of your, who's conducting the race will take care of your access to everything. If you're working for a team or a racer in specific, you could do that as well. You could work for them and they would have to take care of your all your travel expenses to everything else,
Mm.
and they would be the ones paying for you. So there are a lot of ways you can work in the sport. These are a couple of the most known or ways to work, which is organization, team, racer, or you can work for media or press release kind of things, agencies like your
And
regular
and
Hindu
and
and
what truly do you think when you're sort of covering an event? What all do you have to cover? Do you get some prompts from the agency that okay, this is what we need to
yes,
cover?
generally, if you are working for somebody, you do have your basic criteria. They would tell
Mm.
you, okay, you need X amount of shots of this and all is happening. Then as the day goes, you would know what you're going to shoot. Like you know, this function is happening, this race is going to start at this time. But motorsports is lot of unpredictability is there. You can crash out any time a person. So there is no fixed thing that you will get a shot.
Mm.
It is a little bit of luck as well that you get some shots because you were there at the right time at the right place.
Mm.
So all you can do is pre-plan stuff a little. You do need to pre-plan. Okay, sun is going to set at this time. This spot looks really good at the sunset, so I need to be there at that time. So you can pre-plan some stuff, but let's some things that happen are out of luck. Somebody
Mm.
crashes, or you get that crash photo, or somebody's overtaking, you get that overtake photo. So those things is out of your hand. So you can plan maybe half the things that you do, and rest you need to leave it to luck.
Your portfolio mentions precision and emotion. Tell me what is that?
Yeah. So motorsports is about precision and motorsports is about emotion. Like we are racing for it. Why the winning, the emotion that we show in winning, emotions that we show in losing. There's a lot of emotions that's going around, especially in a sport. Like I would say any sport. It is not
Mm.
just motorsports. Any sport has a lot of emotions. Like it is emotional. That is why we all love sports that much. That because it shows a lot of integrity, sportsmanship, a lot of hard work that goes around for people to win and do things. And it is a very special occasion to shoot. So, covering any sport or any kind of event, emotion is, or for a photographer, emotion is a base thing. We are all humans after all.
Mm.
So, behind the helmet, behind that racing gear, those eyes, if you could see, like it would tell a lot of story of how much that racer has worked for, probably to get be in a top spot, topmost like position in the race or something like that, right? So it shows a lot of emotions, and those for me are the most valuable pictures I would make out of a weekend, to be able
Mm.
to show that emotion or show the atmosphere. Simple image of like let's say crowds shouting when their favorite racer wins and crying, and a lot of emotions are all across the place in a race event
Mm.
or any kind of sports event, I would say. So I love covering that aspect, that story of the sport, which is what makes the sport special. Just just imagine some automatic cars winning the race. It wouldn't be special. Like the person climbing out of the car, jumping, celebrating it with his mechanics, celebrating it with his team, that is the emotion that's worth watching. That's the image. Like you're doing like some 50 laps, and after that you're winning it in that heat. You're winning a race event. So that emotion is what we kind of like wait till the end to see.
Talking
So
about
yeah,
automated cars, do you admire them?
no, not much. I love being in control and
Yeah.
being behind the wheel. So I don't really like, yeah, admire automotive
Yeah, I
racing.
think like mostly those who don't know driving much and you have started with automated, for
Exactly.
them it's like more of ease.
Yeah.
But
So
once you actually drive a manual car, you can't really
I
go back.
drive I own and drive both manual and automatic cars. So automatic cars is amazing, like as a comfort, this thing. But end of the day, I still prefer going back to my manual car because the amount of control you can get in that is not anything compared to the automatic cars. Nowadays,
Hmm.
automatic cars do drive really well. The
Yeah.
technology has come to a very far position where there's even what's the word, like there is
Autonomous cars,
autonomous cars
self-driving
racing.
cars,
Yeah, there's
racing.
racing, there's actual racing that goes on for autonomous cars. So which is a coming up thing. It is still not come, it's still under testing and all those things. Let's see how that turns out to be. I'm not sure, but the technology has come that far that we are doing that right now,
Hmm.
because motorsports is dangerous. So a lot of people
Hmm,
are
hmm,
backing
hmm.
out or not taking the risk of being in the car themselves. Like that's why some esports are coming up, and they are like major income right now for a lot of
Okay.
people. And it is spreading because esports, again, when you talk about esports, it is accessible to lot more people.
Yeah,
Like in an esport game you can drive an F1 car, but in reality driving an F1 car is going to be
a nightmare
a nightmare.
probably.
Not forget the nightmare, just the economic to it, like the
Yeah.
money involved to do that is like to off to another chart. So
How much does it usually cost to maintain a Formula One car? I think it's in order
it's,
of millions
yeah,
or.
the amount of zeros I don't think I can cover. I could say, but yeah, there's shitloads of money that is involved, I would
Hmm.
say. So esports is gathering a lot of interest because of that, because a lot of people it's more accessible to a
Hmm.
lot more people and racing. And to be really honest, it is I've known a lot of people who are jumping from esport, and companies are sponsoring them to race on track or for real. So which
But how
is
much? How much do you think is the skill similar in driving a car virtually in an esport game versus actually driving on track?
Um, I wouldn't say it is. It is different for sure. There's a lot more aspect when it comes to driving in real, but sim racing, as of now, has gotten a lot much better, and the amount of feedback to everything that you get
Hmm.
in sim racing, or how the track looks to everything, or how close to it is to driving in real life, is much closer than it used to be. So it is advanced for sure a lot. So I wouldn't say that okay, if I'm able to do the same thing from sim racing to a real track, it would be an achievement. There would be you would be couple of seconds off because there are a lot of other, what do you say, conditions which is not
Hmm.
accommodative or cannot be accommodated in sim racing. But yeah, that is the only difference. Otherwise, the track to what you can experience is almost the same thing.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's getting obviously more realistic,
Yeah,
especially with the feedback and all that you mentioned.
correct.
And also in in sense of physics part of it,
Yeah.
like that's sort of almost similar to
Yeah,
what you
and
would
I wouldn't
see
say
on track.
I wouldn't say sim racing is also very cheap. Like the cheapest
Hmm.
sim racing is not actually does not give you as much feedback this as probably the actual car.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then, if you're ready to spend money, you can get one of the best systems in the world, which kind of is ready to throw you out as well. Like the amount
Hmm.
of force feedback and all you get from it is really good. So those things are there, but then you can't obviously mimic the heat, mimic the condition of the car, mimic the tire
Yeah.
gradations you might have or whatever it is. So a lot of things are there, which in
Hmm.
real life can cause a lot more difference in timing and all those things. Yeah.
Talking again about the the photography part of it, like, so how do you actually figure out that, okay, this is the sort of frame I want to capture, in terms of like, is it more of a hit and trial that you get a burst set of shots and then figure out in the post that, okay, this is a great shot, because
Okay,
it's a
not really.
very dynamic motorsport itself is a very
Yes,
dynamic
it is very
sport.
dynamic, and each track, each place, and is very different. So, like being in India, as I said, like most of the racing happens in two tracks.
Hmm.
So imagine shooting a whole year in just two tracks. It is it is very difficult, to be really honest, because like if you're traveling with Formula One, you're going to 24 different tracks, or how much ever circuits. They don't repeat tracks, right? They go to keep going to a different track for each round. So you are able to create a lot more different things, like from the atmosphere to everything is going to be different in each city. The
Yeah.
weather, the sun timing, to everything is going to be different in each city. So you are going to be able to create a lot different things every weekend. But like when you're restricted to just two tracks, it's very very difficult to, because you need, and there are like some couple of rounds, you need to create different content each round. So I wouldn't say it is a hit and miss. It's more about, you need to imagine stuff before you shoot. It is not like just click and then think what you can do with the image. You need to imagine how the car would come, how the car would react in a certain position, what speed it would be coming in, how it is going to look, all those things into the factor of shooting. And then figure out, okay, what lens do you have, what gear do you have, what can it do. There's a limitation with the gear as well. So you need to figure out what you can do, what is going on in front of you, figure that out at the moment, figure some idea out and make sure that idea comes into real life. So it is hit and miss, because I would say, because sometimes you imagine something, okay, this could happen here, right? And you try to get that shot, but then you're not able to get the shot for some reason, or the bike does not, obviously the car or the bike is not going to come at the same spot exactly. There would be a different line or something like that. The rider might, or driver might be trying out, right? So they might not come at the same point, but then you need to still try it out. And if you get what you imagined, that's like bonus for you, I would
Yeah.
say. So yeah.
And then how much do you actually get to enjoy
Racing?
a race event? Because there
Oh,
is an added
yeah.
pressure of that I want to shoot this, and this.
So I actually enjoy racing, like when I'm watching it on TV or something, probably because I can see a lot more racing happen, right? Like when you're out there on the track, you do enjoy the sound of the cars, the feeling that you get when you're right there at the moment. But then you don't know what is actually happening. You don't follow a lot of
Yeah.
racing, because all you can see is like one corner out of like some 20-30 corners which is there on the track, like, so you don't really see a lot of racing happening. You are, sadly, humans can't port from one point to another quickly, so we need to be at our own pace of whatever this thing is. So what if you have a vehicle, if you're lucky, if you have a vehicle, or we have to walk on the track. So yeah, you don't really enjoy a lot of racing unless a very huge overtake is happening in front of you,
Yeah.
and you happen to see it, or a crash is happening. You don't really like have a lot of action, I would say. You would enjoy racing a lot more on the on your computer, or on your screen,
Yeah.
more than track. But on track, it is a completely different experience.
How is it different truly from seeing it on the TV?
On the TV, you can't really feel the whole emotion or the excitement of the crowd howling, the engine starting, the ground vibrating, and all those things is a very huge emotion that plays into the nature. So it is like, okay, fine. It's like cooking. Okay. You could see the video of live cooking happening, but you can't really get the taste of it. You can imagine the taste a little, right? But
Yeah.
you can't really get the taste of, or the flavor or the smell of that is coming out. So it is similar. The fuel smell in the air, the temperatures rising, the actions happening right in front of your eyes is a completely different experience, for sure. But then only bad aspect is you won't be able to follow too much of racing unless you have a screen which shows what's going on around the track. But yeah, I wouldn't trade anything to just sit and watch. I would want to be there on the spot shooting or covering an event than watching it on
And do you get
screen.
access to pit stops and
Yes. So okay, that's a different topic. Like, let's say in photography, the accreditation level differs. So, what kind of photography you're going to do, what kind of accreditation you get, depends. So, like, say there are like some, maybe in F1 and all, in MotoGP, we have three different accreditations. You could just get accreditation, the basic accreditation, which is just for the track. So you get access only to the track side. Okay. Then second accreditation probably is where you get access to the conferences, media conferences, the pit lane, and all those things. And the third access point you get, or the full access point, is you get access even to the grid. Grid is where the people start racing. Where your races start.
Hmm.
So that is like the access level, because when it comes to MotoGP, F1 and all, there's literally like hundreds of photographers who are there at that event. And to control the crowd of amount of people going into the grid, you need to have different accreditation levels that you can apply for. So depending on what accreditation you get is how much access you get in the track.
Hmm.
So that again depends on various things and all those things. But yeah, so the most access you can get is complete the full access grid where you can go anywhere and anywhere. But even then, you can't really enter the teams, garages,
Okay.
or things.
Yeah.
Those things are again prohibited. Those things can only be accessed if you have specialized permissions, special
Hmm.
permission from a team or something like that.
So, what all media agencies you work with? I mean, you mentioned, uh, you
So
know,
for my international races, I work with an agency called motorsports.com.
okay.
So they help me get the accreditation and into play. And in India, in India, I mainly work with organizations directly who
Hmm.
conduct races and all those things, or I work for teams and racers in specific. I freelance for them,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
I could even work for sponsors or something like that. So let's say event is run by MRF.
Ah.
Sponsor would be somebody else or some other company which is sponsoring it, would also want content for their own, let's say Mobile One or anybody else. So would also want content. So you could create content for them as well. So
Hmm.
I'm a freelancer, so I freelance between everyone depending on the event.
Hmm.
So I find my clients like depending on who I approach and what kind of event it is and all those things.
Yeah. Tell me about some upcoming race events in India, which people can go
So
and watch.
in India, people can watch is probably Indian Racing League, and it is like an IPL of sorts in racing. We have got different teams and different races
And where
coming.
does it happen?
It again happens in mainly in Coimbatore, which the Curry circuit, and in Chennai, which is the
Hmm.
Madras International Circuit. And though that organization actually does street circuits as well. They are the ones who
Okay.
built the Hyderabad street circuit,
Hmm.
and then we had the Chennai street circuit last year as well. This year probably we're going to have a street circuit in Goa as well, which is
Okay.
exciting. So there's a new circuit again
Is that
coming
going
up.
to be near the beach or
I'm not sure
what's up?
exactly, but I hope I'm.
A street circuit or
It's a street circuit,
okay.
not a full time
Hmm.
circuit. It's a street circuit, so they convert some street to make it into circuit for the weekend plan.
Hmm.
So there's a new circuit coming ahead in Goa as well, so which is going to be exciting. So you can watch that and the Indian FO. You can watch the national championship as well on YouTube. They do show it on YouTube as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's also talk about Formula One. Like, what's your favorite team?
Currently, it's a McLaren. I love Oscar Piastri, so I do want him to come up on top really badly. Now is the year
Hmm.
they can do it, and McLaren seems to be on top. So go papaya.
Yeah, was McLaren one of the top performing teams back?
No,
I remember
yeah, a long time
it.
back, yes. Hamilton raced for McLaren.
Hmm.
A lot of people did race for. They've been in the sport for a very long time, but they haven't been quite on top for the last couple of years. Right now, finally, they are getting back onto the
Hmm.
top, which is a really good this thing. So I love that they are doing that. But yeah, Merz- Max Verstappen, who's racing for Red Bull Racing, was on top for a long time right now, and Mercedes was the main competitor.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now it is a
Hmm.
lot of mixed grid. Mercedes is also racing on top. There's a lot
Yeah.
of races that are coming up. McLaren, Max is also fighting for the title. So it has become a little interesting this year.
Hmm. Otherwise, like there was a time when Mercedes was like so far ahead of all the
Exactly.
other cars, and then Red Bull
Exactly.
was ahead of
All
so
the
far
other
ahead.
cars. Yeah, this year is a little bit of mix of everything. We got McLaren on top. We got Ferrari also fighting for it, and then we have got Mercedes and Red Bull Racing fighting for it as well. So it's a very good mix right now to watch F1. It's a
Hmm.
very good year to watch F1.
There were rumors, I think, that Audi or something else,
Yeah,
some
they're
other,
planning to
they're
come
also
into the
planning.
sport. Yes, there is rumors to that as well.
but it would take years to actually, or like, are they coming in as a proper team or
Oh,
providing some engines?
so that's what the confusion is. Like to come in as a new team is a lot of hard work. Like easiest way to come into the sport is buying a team, because they have a set number of cars that can be on the grid. So to have an extra team is like increasing the this thing, and then a lot of changes happens to the points table, to championship, to everything like
Yeah.
that. So creating a new team or getting into as a new team completely as an additional team is difficult. But easiest ways to do is buying a team and entering into the sport,
Mm,
like how Aston Martin came on board with
yeah.
this thing and all this. Yeah.
Who do you think like has the best raw talent currently in Formula One?
See, in motorsports, it's kind of hard to tell. That is why you have a lot of fans supporting a lot of different drivers, right? Because in motorsports, you are a driver is very very crucial and important, because he's driving that car to the max limit. But then a car should be able to go to the limit as well, right? So that's where things fail. So some racers push the cars a lot, and your car is just not able to do more than what it can. So that's where the difficulty is. And so I can't exactly say that, oh, this guy does not have talent or this guy has talent, because a car is also a limitation to a driver. So sometimes even though he's talented, he might not be able to perform a lot, because it he he's just limited by the car. So it's very difficult to say that, oh, this fellow is like very very talented, or like is the fastest of all, or whatever. But I feel Max is really good in a way that he's able to push things to another level. He's able to push the car. He's able to push himself. The precision he drives with is amazing. So raw talent wise, Max, Oscar, even Hamilton is amazingly good with the car. He's raced a lot of different cars as well, and he's performed really really good in most cars that most teams that he's been with. So eh, all of them are talented. To be in Formula One, I think you have to be talented. Otherwise, you can't even get into Formula One for sure. So I
Yeah,
wouldn't say
that's
any of them are not talented.
that's the pinnacle of racing in a
Yeah,
way.
that's the pinnacle of racing. And I wouldn't say that even one person on the grid is not talented,
Yeah,
because
true.
to stay in Formula One, you can't, even if you have the money, you can't just buy your way into Formula One as well. You need to have points to enough super license points to race in Formula One and etc., which you need to gather from the series below to enter Formula One. So I wouldn't say that, okay, one particular racer is not talented at all. Okay, he would be there for money. He could have bought his way in a little,
Yeah.
because it is a very expensive sports, and for it to run you need money. So obviously whoever's going to pay with talent is going to enter the sport. So I wouldn't say every racer on Formula 1 grid is the best of the lot, like compared to the people below or compared to people who have not got the chance to be there. But in this sport, you need money as well. And that is a very very important criteria. Even if you're talented to be anywhere in this or grow in the sport to race this thing, it takes a lot of money, and those people who have money have the advantage to be able to do it. So
Yeah.
it is a sport with money, connected to money. So talent alone does not work.
It's something which is a dangerous sport.
Yeah, it is very.
And it would be hard to imagine how dangerous is it without actually witnessing some races, or like if some crash happens, maybe because when you see, especially for Formula One, it might be easier because you get to see on TV that how fast the cars are racing.
Exactly.
When you see the front cam, or I don't know
Exactly.
what is that called, that cam which is just on the car.
On the
Yeah, that's
exactly. So Formula One is broadcasted really well, so you can actually see it. What do you say? How fast the cars are going, and you
yeah.
can kind of feel how fast they are going. But I wouldn't say Formula One is the most dangerous. It is dangerous for sure, because they are touching like 300 kilometers. They're taking a corner into at 100 and 200 kilometers per hour and all those things. So they're touching almost 400 kilometers per hour. So it is dangerous for sure, but I wouldn't say it is the most dangerous in motorsports. So I'm not sure how much you guys follow. There is something called Isle of Man TT, which is a bike race that
Yeah, I
goes.
have watched some videos of that.
Yeah,
Like how
it
close they
is.
pass by
It
the
is very.
corners.
So Isle of Man TT is basically a race that happens around an island.
Hmm.
It's a bike race, so it's mainly again timed time attack kind of a thing where you need to set your time for the whole lap or whatever. So it is one of the most dangerous races out there, I would say, because at least one person dies every year. It's conducted. Okay, and the people racing in Isle of Man TT have a different level of, what do you say, balls. I would say, if I can say that, yeah, different level of freaking.
Hmm.
Blood rushing through them,
Yeah.
probably because the amount of guts you need to do that is intense. Okay, so you have that, and then you have something called in off-road, when you go, you have something called Dakar.
Okay.
Dakar is an sport where it's an off-road sport where you race close to 14 days out there in the desert. Each day you're doing close to 100 kilometers each stage, and it is very, very dangerous. Like, all just 50% of the people in Dakar who start finish actually the Dakar. So yeah, it is very, very dangerous, and we have had quite a few racers and athletes from India actually racing in Dakar, and it who have won a lot of stuff, which is
Hmm.
amazingly good for India. It like CS Santosh, who runs a park called Big Rock Dirt Park in India, in
Okay.
Bangalore, is one of the first racers to race in Dakar from India off road.
Hmm.
He races two wheels on the bikes category, and amount of crashes he has had, or he's not been able to finish Dakar. Amount of times he has raced and not been able to finish because of some crashes, a lot. So it is one of the most difficult sports out there, I would say.
In terms of, like, you mentioned broadcasting, that Formula One is really well broadcasted. How much effort does it truly go into doing something of that scale?
A lot of effort. The amount of people actually working back end to just show the sport to you is
Hmm.
tremendously huge. The cameras, the high tech cameras that work in that speed, the setup requirement, and the best thing is they pack up, they place things, they pack it up. Everything happens within the week of Formula. And they shift. They have to fly back to the next city or the next place where they
Oh,
have to
so
race
the
in.
track and all that's like
No,
a part of it is prepared
the
for the
track and
weekend.
all is prepared. The tracks are set up, but then everything on the track is needs to be set up in the week before the
Okay.
Formula One happens. Right, the teams have to set up the garages. The teams have to
Hmm.
set up the cars.
Hmm.
Everything that you see is the sponsors, the stickering, the posters. The TV crew has to put their wires down and everything. So all the communication hub has to be set up. So lot of people actually work behind the whole screen
Hmm.
just to showcase you the sport for sure. And in the sport as well, you just see 24 racers or people racing, but then amount of people in each team that is working hard to just put the car out there to race. Mechanics, team owners, team engineers, your media crew, your publication, the event managers, and your what do you say, even the track side for you to have the
Hmm.
marshals. Each post has about like some 5 6 marshals plus, which help to recover the cars,
Hmm.
save the drivers lives, a lot of it. So a lot of people are working on a weekend, which is, the number is actually a lot. I can't even probably say how exactly how many are there, but then a lot more than you imagine for sure.
Hmm.
Do work behind the scenes.
Is there any special league that you want to be a part of in from this broadcasting side of it?
I want to be part of MotoGP. I More than Formula One, I love bikes. I
Hmm.
off road all this thing. So the two events that I want to be part of in my lifetime is MotoGP, and I want to do a full season of MotoGP and Dakar.
Hmm.
So you don't really get accreditation directly to do a full season, even if you have the money to. So you need to do at least three-fourth of the races in the previous year, cover three-fourth of the races in the previous year. Only then you get the accreditation for the full season. So it
Mm.
is a very difficult process even to do a full season of the sport. So my current goal is to do MotoGP full season and Dakar full season. Probably, hopefully, I'll be able to do it.
All right. It was nice talking to you.
Yes,
It's
it
been
was
a
nice
pleasure.
talking to you as well.
You've sort of inspired me to,
Yes,
get some involvement in
definitely
race
people
events and all.
should follow motorsports in
Um,
India and see how exciting it is.
and I hope you'll cover some of the
Yes.
full season of MotoGP. I
Yes.
truly want
Thank
to.
you.
So yeah, nice talking to you.
Thank you so much.